The jury was absolutely fuming as Blake Lively shamelessly lied under oath, not just once, but multiple times, ignoring direct warnings from the court. She didn't stop there. She pulled others into her mess, including Daniel Harper, whom she allegedly bribed and threatened with $50,000 to lie against Justin Baldoni in court. Judge Eleanor Whitman, known for her no-nonsense approach, icy stare, and absolute refusal to tolerate excuses, made it crystal clear before testimony even began. Miss Lively, this court will not tolerate deception. Any dishonesty under oath will carry full legal consequences. Most people would have taken that warning seriously, but not Blake. She seemed to treat it like a plot twist in her latest PR stunt, entirely underestimating the jury. These were 12 ordinary people who had left their jobs and lives behind to serve their civic duty, people who take justice seriously and can detect dishonesty from a mile away. Blake's disregard only worsened when Daniel Harper stepped forward. Daniel wasn't just anyone. He was the assistant director of It Ends With Us, working directly under Baldoni and witnessing everything on set. Blake apparently thought she could manipulate his story too. According to Daniel's testimony, which hit the courtroom like a nuclear bomb, Blake Lively offered him $50,000 to lie on the stand, and it wasn't even subtle. She allegedly sent direct deposit hush money along with threatening voicemails and texts saying, "You don't want to be the reason this gets uglier." This wasn't a TV drama, it was real life, in court, with legal consequences. The receipts were damning. Printed bank statements showed a conveniently timed consulting payment to Harper just 2 weeks before he was set to testify. Then there were audio recordings of her threats. "Do this for me and you'll never have to worry about money again." It sounded like a mafia audition tape. The jury was visibly stunned. One woman literally had her mouth open the entire time. The judge slammed her gavel so hard someone in the gallery flinched. Blake tried to maintain composure, but her left eye was twitching uncontrollably. This was not a minor slip. It was witness tampering, a violation of California Penal Code Section 136.1, punishable by up to 4 years in prison and a $10,000 fine, an amount she could easily spend on throw pillows. But Blake wasn't done self-sabotaging. Her next performance, presenting a so-called emotional abuse timeline, earned her the figurative Oscar for the most embarrassing lie under oath, as she sobbed through the testimony, attempting to gain sympathy while the court and jury watched unimpressed. Every lie, every threat, every misstep piled up, creating a courtroom spectacle that left no doubt about the severity of her actions and the consequences she could face. Blake's attempts to manipulate, intimidate, and deceive only highlighted a pattern of reckless behavior that put her credibility, reputation, and freedom at serious risk, with the jury and judge fully aware of the stakes. Yes, Blake sobbed on the stand, claiming that Justin Baldoni had emotionally abused her starting in early 2022, alleging that he gaslit her, manipulated her, and made her feel unsafe on set. She described him as controlling and explosive, saying she had to journal everything just to survive.
Heartbreaking, right?
Except it was a complete fabrication. The reality was exposed when Baldoni's legal team brought in a digital wrecking ball, emails, text messages, and screenshots from February, March, and even June 2022. Smiling selfies, brunch photos, messages where Blake wrote, "You're the only director who's ever understood me." All evidence that she was thriving, not surviving. Instagram DMs showed playful jokes about coffee orders, a playlist titled for my favorite collaborator. Super abusive, indeed. Then came the forensic psychologists, real clinical experts, who dismantled her narrative line by line. They found inconsistencies in her accounts, mismatched emotional cues, and even plagiarized passages in her so-called journals. One entry, dated March 14, 2022, was lifted word for word from a therapy workbook available on Amazon for $15.99. Blake couldn't even fabricate a story originally. This opened another legal can of worms. Perjury under California Penal Code 118, carrying up to 4 years in prison and $10,000 in fines per count. At this point, Blake was facing a Netflix miniseries worth of charges, and every lie made the jury colder, harder, and more furious. You could feel the shift. Jurors who had once taken polite notes were now exchanging eye rolls and shaking their heads. One man literally scribbled WTF on his notepad. They weren't buying her tears, nor were they impressed by her Hollywood status. They were done. The truth is, this jury wasn't there for autographs, selfies, or stories about Ryan Reynolds. They were working-class Americans who believe in justice, unlike Blake, who treats court like another red carpet event. The judge had warned her, and the jury had given her every chance, but Blake chose to throw it all away in the most arrogant and sloppy way imaginable, and now she was drowning in her own lies. Facts have receipts, and this courtroom cashed every single one. Then Ryan Reynolds was pulled into the chaos. Blake swore under oath with wide, innocent eyes that Ryan had no involvement in the case, not even remotely, no advice, no meetings, nothing. Supposedly, he was too busy running jean ads and playing everyone's favorite husband.
Wrong.
The courtroom learned that Ryan wasn't just aware, he was actively managing aspects of the case behind the scenes. Leaked emails between him and Blake's legal team revealed coordination, strategy, and oversight that contradicted every claim she made. The lies ran deeper than anyone imagined, and the jury could see it all. Blake's sob story, tears, and attempts to manipulate perception crumbled under undeniable evidence, and the carefully crafted image of innocence she had tried to project evaporated entirely. Every fabricated claim, every exaggeration, and every false accusation was exposed, leaving her credibility shattered and her legal situation more precarious than ever. The courtroom spectacle revealed not just deception, but a systematic effort to control the narrative, a failure that turned the jury from skeptical observers into enraged witnesses of her dishonesty. Messages surfaced showing detailed plans on how to paint Justin Baldoni as unstable, erratic, and inappropriate. Actual words pulled from email threads verified by server metadata and confirmed by a digital forensics team. Ryan Reynolds didn't just watch from the sidelines. He allegedly suggested leaking an old behind-the-scenes clip of Baldoni yelling during a shoot, intentionally out of context, to generate public sympathy for Blake Lively. He wasn't merely a supportive husband. He acted as a PR hitman. And the motive? Far from noble. It wasn't about protecting Blake from a big, bad producer. It was personal, petty revenge. Word in Hollywood circles is that Ryan and Baldoni had a bitter fallout in 2020 over a shelved Amazon Studios project. Ryan was producing a dark comedy that Baldoni allegedly pulled out of at the last minute, tanking the deal and embarrassing Reynolds in front of studio executives. Since then, Ryan reportedly referred to Baldoni as unreliable and obsessed with his image, according to texts leaked by one of Blake's own assistants, who turned whistleblower. While Blake pretended in court that Ryan was off raising their kids and tweeting about aviation gene, the reality was that he was knee-deep in strategy calls and narrative manipulation. This is where the situation escalates. Encouraging someone to lie under oath while actively interfering in a legal case isn't just shady, it's criminal. Enter the charge of subornation of perjury, a felony under California law, which applies to anyone who encourages or enables perjury. Both Blake and Ryan are now under scrutiny. According to Los Angeles criminal law experts and Justia, subornation of perjury carries penalties of up to 4 years in prison, felony records, hefty fines, and the total destruction of one's public credibility. In short, Blake's husband went from people's sexiest man alive to a potential co-conspirator in a federal crime. The jury's reactions during the revelation were priceless. One juror reportedly muttered, "Are you kidding me?" while another shook their heads so violently it looked like a cartoon reaction. Judge Whitman didn't mince words either. Her voice was cold, deliberate, and surgical. This court takes any attempt to influence proceedings with outside interference as a direct assault on the integrity of the judicial process. No exceptions for celebrity or marriage. Blake appeared visibly shaken, blinking rapidly, as if trying to reset her brain, essentially buffering under pressure. The jury deserves a standing ovation. This wasn't a typical pool. It included a civil engineer, a retired teacher, a former Navy officer, 2 single mothers, a tech consultant, and an HVAC worker who read legal blogs for fun. They were not swayed by designer gowns or magazine covers. They listened carefully, took notes, and connected dots throughout deliberations. Reports indicate the jury requested over 300 pages of emails, timeline charts, and psychological profiles, and one juror even caught a date inconsistency in Blake's abuse journal that the prosecution hadn't noticed. They worked like bloodhounds. Once the dust settled, the public heard them loud and clear. In post-trial interviews, juror number 6 said, "We wanted to believe her, but we can't reward lies with justice." Another added, "Her fame meant nothing to us." The meticulous work of these jurors proved that truth matters more than celebrity, showing that no amount of star power can overshadow the facts. Her evidence spoke louder than any PR campaign could, like watching ordinary people dismantle the carefully constructed image of a Hollywood starlet brick by brick. It was a rare moment when the public seemed to believe in the justice system again. Judge Whitman didn't hold back praise for the jury either, noting their diligence, neutrality, and unwavering focus as a model for what a democratic judicial process should look like. A clear slap to every PR team that ever thought they could manipulate public opinion inside a courtroom. Now comes the harsh reality for Blake Lively, the legal consequences. She faces 3 felony counts of perjury, 1 count of witness tampering, and now subornation of perjury, which could total 12 years in prison if sentences are served consecutively. That's not even considering the $40,000 in cumulative fines and the financial losses from her rapidly imploding career. According to multiple legal analysts on whitecollarattorney.com and Los Angeles criminal lawyer Pro, cases with stacked lies like hers rarely result in mere probation. Judges often push for exemplary punishment to set precedent, especially when the defendant mocked the system on national news. Endorsements are evaporating too. L'Oreal reportedly pulled Blake from an upcoming campaign. She's been removed from a European fragrance launch, and Netflix insiders confirm she's no longer considered for 2 new thriller projects. In Hollywood terms, she's not just blacklisted, she's erased. PR teams now label her uninsurable, effectively the industry's death sentence. For context, consider Jeffrey Archer, the British politician and author who lied in court, was convicted of perjury in 2001 and served 4 years in prison. His reputation never fully recovered, and he didn't even have a celebrity spouse like Ryan Reynolds. Blake's fall is far more devastating because she built her brand as America's blonde sweetheart, clean, classy, untouchable. Now, she's the punchline. Public opinion flipped so quickly it's dizzying. Reddit threads are ablaze. TikTok is full of courtroom breakdowns, and even dedicated fan pages are archiving posts and going quiet. The narrative shifted from justice for Blake to disbelief over how the public ever bought into her persona. When a celebrity treats lying under oath as a PR tactic, the only outcome is disaster. Blake is now front row at her own career funeral. What she didn't anticipate was the public unraveling of her narrative, headline by headline. The cracks in her fabricated story were exposed by journalists, whistleblowers, and iCloud backups, proof that no amount of pretty privilege can survive once receipts begin surfacing. Investigative reporters from Newsweek, ABC, and People, ironically the outlets that once lauded her as the most relatable celebrity mom, meticulously compared her courtroom statements against verified digital timelines. The holes were massive. She claimed emotional abuse by Baldoni while simultaneously tagging him in Instagram posts captioned, "Love this genius man." Emotional trauma? Or brunch selfies with extra lies? Then Daniel Harper returned, the whistleblower and former assistant director, refusing to be complicit. After his explosive testimony that he was offered bribes, Harper provided more. Voice memos and recordings of Blake coaching him on what to say in court, even giving specific lines like, "Just make it sound like Justin was passive-aggressive." This wasn't law, it was courtroom fanfiction, and Blake was directing her own saga as if it were an indie film. But when your witnesses flip and leak audio, you're no longer the lead actress, you're the main villain. Digital forensics amplified the fallout. Emails, text threads, metadata, and audio files created an irrefutable chain of evidence. Everything from deleted messages to tampered timestamps was recovered, showing her manipulation in meticulous detail. Every strategy, every lie, every coached testimony left a trail that forensic teams meticulously mapped. Courtroom experts confirmed that her efforts to fabricate a story weren't just unethical, they were criminally actionable. It was messy, intricate, and damning, turning a Hollywood narrative of glamour and innocence into a full-blown legal catastrophe. Every PR stunt, every whispered lie, every attempt to orchestrate public perception collapsed under the weight of objective, verifiable evidence. Blake Lively's carefully curated image of charm and relatability was shattered, revealing a web of deceit, manipulation, and criminal exposure, leaving her career and reputation hanging by a thread as digital forensics and courtroom scrutiny relentlessly closed in. Experts meticulously combed through Blake Lively's iCloud backups, email metadata, and message timestamps from both her and Ryan Reynolds' devices, revealing a trail of inconsistencies and deleted communications that contradicted her sworn testimony. Emails she denied sending were discovered in drafts, while previously deleted messages surfaced in cloud archives, including one particularly damning text to her PR manager. We'll just say the abuse started earlier, so it aligns with the press leak. The courtroom collectively gasped as this evidence came to light, exposing not only Blake's timeline manipulations, but also coordinated efforts with Reynolds to plant stories, leak anonymous statements, and manage public perception. Legal teams obtained this data through subpoenas and cross-examinations. Her devices were lawfully seized under a digital discovery order, and former assistants and PR personnel, under mounting pressure, began to crack, revealing crucial contradictions. Cross-examinations highlighted discrepancies in her abuse journals, timelines, and emotional testimonies. On several occasions, the prosecution read her own contradictory quotes from separate depositions, leaving Blake blinking like a deer caught in headlights. The public's reaction was merciless. Social media exploded with mockery and outrage. Twitter became a non-stop roast session, and headlines read things like, "Blake Lively's lies fall apart like her career," and "Justice serves a pretty face the ugly truth." Fans who had previously defended her deleted fan edits and locked their Blake Stan accounts, while TikTok overflowed with stitch videos dissecting courtroom footage like serialized true crime content. The court's judgment echoed beyond the legal arena as entertainment industry insiders paused to reevaluate their support. Executives held meetings to reassess celebrity projects. One studio insider reported Blake had been labeled radioactive. No pitches, green lights, or meetings, and a major talent agency dropped her representation. Even lifestyle brands quietly removed her image from websites, transforming her from Hollywood's golden mom into a high-risk liability within weeks. Legal analysts noted that the case might set an unprecedented precedent for celebrity conduct under oath, warning that lying, witness tampering, and involving a spouse in legal strategies could necessitate broader judicial reforms, including automatic digital discovery and stricter consequences for third-party interference. Public discourse surged, dominating podcasts, panels, and radio shows, all dissecting how a privileged, public figure could believe herself immune to truth. Analysts agreed. Blake Lively didn't just lie under oath. She produced, directed, and promoted her false narrative, turning a legal proceeding into a full-scale performance. The consequences for Hollywood are significant, as legal teams now review other celebrity testimonies, PR firms create specialized courtroom divisions, and studios enforce stricter morality clauses. Ultimately, Blake's meticulously curated Pinterest-perfect image has unraveled into legal chaos, career devastation, and public humiliation. The jury executed their duty, the judge remained firm, and the public saw through her facade. The wreckage she created is undeniable, and no PR campaign can restore her credibility. With lies crumbling and scrutiny intensifying, the courtroom saga is far from over, leaving Blake Lively to confront the full weight of the consequences she orchestrated for herself, while the entertainment world and legal system alike reassess the boundaries of celebrity influence and accountability.